Welcome to today's Explainer. Let's jump right in. Today, we're demystifying something that frankly feels like pure magic to a lot of people, building a fully functional Chrome extension using Claude AI. Whether you're a seasoned techie or someone who literally hasn't looked at a single line of code in your life, we're laying out a clear, structured roadmap today to build real, usable software.
Okay, let's dive into this. Hardeep Singh over at Panstag hit the nail on the head with this thought. He said, yes, you can build a working Chrome extension using Claude AI even if you've never written a line of code. Honestly, this isn't just some theoretical tech hype. It's one of the most highly realistic AI side income paths out there right now. The barrier to entry? It's completely shifted. You really don't need to be a software engineer anymore. You just need to be a clear communicator and, well, a patient problem solver. So here's our roadmap for today. Number 1, the AI developer dream. 2, choosing your Claude path. 3, the build and debug loop. 4, monetizing your extension. And 5, what Claude cannot do.
Let's move right into Section 1, the AI developer dream and setting grounded expectations.
Now, if you spend any time online, you've definitely seen those viral posts, right? The ones claiming someone built a whole app with AI in 10 minutes while sipping their morning coffee? Well, let's do a quick reality check here. That built-in 10 minutes app is a total myth. You should realistically expect several hours, maybe even a few days, of active work for a simple extension. Why? Because the actual coding part isn't what takes the most time anymore. It's the scoping, the testing, and especially the debugging. Those steps take real focused effort. And honestly, knowing this up front gives you a massive advantage, because you won't just throw your hands up and quit when things get slightly complicated at hour 2.
All right, that brings us to Section 2, choosing your Claude path, where we compare the chat interface versus Claude code.
Now, what's really interesting about this is you actually have two completely different ways to collaborate with Claude. First up is the standard Claude AI chat. This is fantastic for first-timers. Basically, you chat with Claude in the browser, and then you manually copy and paste the code it generates into a free text editor on your computer, something like VS Code. It's totally free, just a bit more, manual. On the flip side, we have Claude Code. This is an absolute game changer if you're managing multiple files. It runs directly inside your project folder on your computer, creating and editing files automatically. No copy and pasting required. The catch? It requires a $20 a month pro subscription. So if this is literally your first simple extension, definitely start with the free chat interface.
Moving right along to Section 3, the build and debug loop, taking you from a raw idea to working software.
Listen, building software with AI isn't just yelling, make me an app into a text box. It's a structured process. Step 1, you have to pick a very narrow problem. Step 2, you absolutely must scope the project with Claude before you let it write any code. And step 3 is generating the actual files one by one. Let's break these down a bit so you know exactly how to execute them.
Starting with step 1, picking the problem. The absolute best browser extensions don't try to boil the ocean. They just solve one highly annoying, frequently repeated task. Think about this simple formula. This extension helps user do task without annoying manual step. I really challenge you to look at your own daily browser habits here. Like, what do you constantly copy and paste between tabs? What are you manually checking over and over again? Fill in those blanks. Trust me, narrow and finished always beats ambitious and half-built.
Once you've nailed down that specific problem, we move to step 2, scoping. Whatever you do, do not jump straight into building. Instead, grab this exact prompt as your starting point. I want to build a Chrome extension. Before writing any code, tell me files needed, permissions required, review flags, and background worker needs. You're basically asking Claude to act as your lead architect here. You want to know all the moving parts, especially the permissions and any review flags Google might catch. By getting Claude to outline permissions before writing a single line of code, you are going to save yourself massive headaches later. Broad permissions, like asking to read data on every single website when your extension only needs to look at one, that's going to significantly slow down your review process in the Chrome Web Store. So scope it out first.
Right, so once that scoop looks clean and narrow, you finally move to step 3, generating the files. And here is your plug-and-play prompt for this phase. Take a look at this massive detail at the end of the prompt. Add comments explaining what each permission and each function does. This is absolutely crucial. You're not just blindly copying code here. You're asking Claude to actually teach you what the code does. You really need to understand your own extension. I mean, if Google's review team reaches out and asks why you need a certain permission, you have to be able to answer them confidently. Okay, now we enter the second half of the build journey. Once you've got your files saved, you need to test it locally in Chrome's developer mode. Then enter the debugging loop, and finally, write your store listing. But wait, I want to pause here and ask you a direct question. What happens when the extension breaks the first time you load it into Chrome? Because let's be real for a second. I promise you it almost certainly will.
Well, the answer is you just enter the debugging loop. Honestly, this is the secret sauce of AI development. It's basically the repetitive process of testing locally, copying the exact error message that Chrome spits out, pasting it back into Claude, getting the fixed code, and reloading it. Your success here doesn't depend on your coding knowledge at all. It entirely depends on your patience for this loop. Like this loop right here, this is the actual work of an AI developer. To execute that loop effectively, you just say to Claude, I loaded the extension and got this error. Paste your error. Here's my pop-up.js. Paste the file. What's causing this and what's the fixed version? It's super actionable. Just a quick pro tip though. If Claude gives you a fix and you don't understand why it works, ask it to explain the fix in one sentence before you move on. You've got to maintain control of your project.
Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds into monetizing your extension and setting up the paywall.
You know, a lot of tutorials just skip this part entirely, but if you actually want to make money, you need to know this limitation. Chrome no longer processes payments inside the web store for you, so to charge for your extension, you have to wire up your own external billing using a platform like Stripe or Paddle. Now, this is generally the most technical part of the whole shebang. Because of that, it's completely reasonable, actually, it's a really smart strategy, to just launch your extension for free first. Validate that people actually want the thing, build up a small user base, and then slap the paywall on later. It dramatically lowers your initial risk.
But hey, when you are finally ready to monetize, Claude is totally ready to help you scaffold it out. Here's the prompt to use. You just ask Claude to walk you through the Stripe setup step by step, and crucially, ask it to write the specific license check code that's going to sit inside your extension to unlock those premium features only after a user has actually paid.
All right, finally, let's head into Section 5, what Claude cannot do, the final reality check. Look, Claude is an incredibly powerful copilot, but it's not magic. It cannot register your Chrome Web Store developer account, and it definitely can't pay the one-time registration fee for you. It cannot guarantee that Google's review team is going to approve your app. That is 100% Google's call. More importantly, Claude cannot get you users. Distribution and marketing, that rests entirely on your shoulders. You need an existing audience or a solid marketing plan to actually get installs. And lastly, like we touched on earlier, Claude cannot replace you understanding your own extension. At the end of the day, you are the developer. Claude is just your extraordinarily fast typing assistant.
So, we've broken down the myths. We've explored the chat versus code paths, walked through those all-important build and debug loops, and even mapped out monetization. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. What annoying daily browser task are you going to automate first? Seriously, the barrier to building software has literally never been lower, and the tools are sitting right there in front of you. Take that one little task that drives you crazy, open up Claude, and start your build journey today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what you build.